Ladies and gentlemen, hold on, let me get a soda. Let me make sure my video's on. This is on Zoom, so this is... Alright. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Palestinians and Afghanistanis all over the world, and my Arabs. I've got a special guest on this podcast. The second guest ever to appear on the show. You know him, you love him, you want him. Gentlemen, that's you too. Ladies, line up. It's a big line. Ladies and gentlemen, he has discussed foreign policy, he's discussed money and GameStop and politics and everything in between. No, I'm not talking about Oscar Montiel. He would be bored. Ladies and gentlemen, as I call him, Naim Hawa. It's Naim Abu-El Hawa. What's up, Naim?
Hey, how are you, Jason? Howdy, fans of the podcast.
Get the memo.
I guess I didn't get the memo that's the title.
You got the memo, ladies and gentlemen.
Memo now received.
Yeah, I changed it.
Oh man, it's quite a pleasure to be here, Jason. It's been a while since last we touched base, and it's
January, yeah.
It's good stuff. Lots of things have happened since last time, I think.
Oh, so much has happened. My God. I know I want to ask you about the squad, and I want to ask you about progressive politics and all that, but I want to get the pressing issue out of the way. We've been talking about Afghanistan all week on the channel. Last week, every other progressive person was talking about it, but I was busy. So I want to ask you first. Let's talk about the attack in Kabul. What can you tell me there?
Okay, so what we know right now is an affiliate of the Islamic State of ISIS called ISIS-K, ISIS Khorasan. I think that's what they stand for. That's a good way of describing them. Did threaten to take advantage of the chaotic situation at Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul and cause pandemonium and mayhem. And so U.S. intelligence did put out an alert. I think the State Department put out an alert hours before the attack happened, saying, hey, if you're an American, or whoever is near that airport, stay far away. We have very good reason to believe that something is about to happen. Lo and behold, this ISIS-K sent 2 suicide bombers into the airport. They detonated themselves, killing 12 U.S. Marines, a U.S. medic, and countless Afghans. I think over 100. I don't have the exact number. Maybe 102, something like that. Afghans were killed, or 60 maybe. I really don't remember off the top of my head. But and many others wounded, many Americans and Afghans wounded as well. And ISIS-K took responsibility for this attack. What do we know about ISIS-K? Who are they, and what is their relationship with the Taliban? So many people want to say that all these groups are fundamentally the same, and that's not at all the case. In fact, you'll be surprised to find out that ISIS-K and the Taliban are arch enemies.
Right.
They couldn't be more opposed to each other.
So this group has actually killed more. They're known for this kind of thing. They're known for they're more calculated in their attacks. They're not just random, because ISIS was very random. They had calculated attacks, but a lot of times you had people who pledged to ISIS and like, I'm gonna go to the local bar and do a shooting, right? I'm gonna go to my office and do a shooting. San Bernardino is what I'm hinting at.
Yeah.
The Paris attacks were definitely planned. But you had little things, like little fractions of it. But this group takes advantage of chaotic situations, right? Oh, there's people at a market? Boom, let's go, right? And a lot of terrorist groups do that. Biden released this statement, I'm sure you heard it, where he said, whoever you are, wherever you are, I'm going to get you, and I'm going to promise to airstrike you. What kind of message is this sending? Because as a progressive, I'm thinking, oh shit, here's more war coming.
Well, it sends one of 3 messages depending on which context it falls into and what his actual response is going to be. The first could be a constant tit for tat. They're going to go target somehow some American or Western installation, and the United States and their allies are going to respond with airstrikes, and then they're going to go back and do it again, and we're going to respond with airstrikes. And that's most likely going to be what happens, right?
Yeah.
It's just back and forth. It won't be an all-out, on-paper official war. It'll just be a lot of tit for tat. And you know how many millions of dollars are wasted on each airstrike? Just think about that. The second potential scenario will be all-out war. The war hawks are already calling for this. Let's not leave Afghanistan quite yet. Let's go back in and now let's decimate this ISIS-K. Obviously, that's not a practical response for so many reasons. We have, for whatever it's worth, a peace treaty with the Taliban saying that we'll be out. And if we violate this peace treaty, hands off, the Taliban could direct attacks at us as well. And, we'll just be in the middle of a messy, bloody civil war in Afghanistan that's already been going on. And then we'll be trying to decimate this ISIS-K. And if you know anything about Afghanistan, it's the graveyard of empires. So let's get out of there before we be even more disgraced than we have been. The third possible scenario is one big blowout. The Americans identify a major ISIS-K target. This would require strategy and strong intelligence, which we're a little confused about that. I mean, they didn't notice the Taliban were going to drop or capture Kabul so fast. So, but this third scenario, in my opinion, would probably be the cleanest scenario.
Yeah.
One big blowout targeting a major ISIS-K facility, putting them out of business, basically, and calling it a day. I don't see that happening, but that's the third scenario.
Well, yeah, you're right. And you know what? I'm happy you're on the podcast today because I know everyone's going to be like, what's going on in Kabul? Right. My thing, I didn't know about the 3 messages. So that's a good thing. Now, what Biden's saying there. Now, obviously, the more war, all 3 calls for war. The problem is you can't rely on U.S. intelligence. Number 2, they knew it was going to fall. Biden said, they didn't tell me that. No, they're not going to take it. They're 3,000 soldiers, 300,000 soldiers. And then that message is coming back to haunt his ass, his dumb ass. Now, the problem with ISIS-K is, from what one of my other Middle Eastern friends said, is they're not just in Afghanistan. They're in, now maybe if you could tell me if I'm right or wrong, they're in Lebanon, they're in the UAE, they're in Egypt, they're in wherever you can imagine, Pakistan, they're everywhere. They're not just in Afghanistan. So if Biden is going to do one big blowout, well, he's got a problem. It's not just an Afghan group, then okay, we call it end of the day. And then if he does one big blowout, the war hawks, Liz Cheney and Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer and Pelosi and all the media talking heads, Bill Kristol and all Bill Wolfowitz, Paul Wolfowitz, I'm sorry, they're all going to want more war. We're not done, not enough. What should have been Joe Biden's message here? What should it have been? Because this whole "I'm going to get you" is
Yeah. So it's easy to say he should have delivered another message. I think what happens here is more important, and I was a little upset he didn't really hammer this home. I know there's no point in beating a dead horse, but constantly reminding us this is in fact why we need to get out of Afghanistan and why we need to get out of the Middle East as a whole, right? Yeah. Because the longer we stay there, the higher likelihood of attacks against Americans, American servicemen and women, American civilians, American contractors, no matter who they are. There's going to be attacks targeting them. I think that should have been the bigger emphasis. He talked about how the threat of ISIS, and ISIS-K is only one affiliate, correct, of ISIS. ISIS-K is based in Afghanistan, but ISIS itself is, frankly, worldwide. But he highlighting that the threat of ISIS has metastasized. He mentioned that in yesterday's address. Is basically code for we're going to continue potentially expand our airstrike missions throughout the Middle East, places like Syria, Iraq, target different groups in Somalia, in Pakistan, and still continue airstrike activity in Afghanistan. And that's a lot of money. Just so we know, U.S. taxpayers have the right to know this. The capabilities, these military actions or endeavors or undergoings, whatever you want to call them, are going to cost us out of our pockets. And these situations, such as airstrikes, are also prone to mistake. Remember the time we attacked a civilian hospital in Kunduz in Afghanistan? That happened.
Yeah.
I think it was under the Obama administration. And other instances where there was one instance where a 9-year-old American citizen was killed. The child, I believe the daughter of a terrorist or an operative, she was killed in an airstrike we launched. I think that was also under the Obama administration. This is not to say that there are casualties of war. There are horrifying things that happen in war. And it's not to say that we have to look after our national security interests. But I think collectively, it's hard to say this after yesterday's attack at Kabul airport, but collectively, ISIS has been broken. We have done an effective job, bloody job, but an effective job in defeating one terrorist network or another, only to see the rise of a new terrorist network. So this quote-unquote war on terror is basically a stalemate. There's no winner, there's no loser, but at this point we just have to walk away and maybe find diplomatic means, maybe stop using military force to address the underlying issues that are leading to radicalization of so many youth around the Middle East and around the world, and acknowledge and take responsibility for our actions that have led to these youth being radicalized. That does not justify what has happened to countless innocent Americans, but it does say someone has to be an adult, take a step back, and really look at the underlying issues and say, how can we actually correct the issues? Because today it's ISIS, tomorrow it's Schmisis. There's going to be a new organization that comes up. It's not going to go away. And, for us to break one organization after another, it's never going to end. I mean, we basically defeated Al-Qaeda, right?
Well, yeah, and we were there fighting 80 guys, and there were a bunch of sleeper cells, and that was from intelligence of 2009, by the way. So Al-Qaeda is pretty much non-existent in Afghanistan. Are there a few guys trying to continue the legacy of Osama bin Laden? Sure. But my thing, too, is now ISIS-K is based in Afghanistan, but you've got others trying to mimic ISIS-K, as I said, in Lebanon and Egypt and Syria and everywhere else. Because they're like, well, shit, we can take advantage of that, too. Now, of course, all those people are going to want endless war, right? So now let me ask you about the withdrawal here.